Parrot, the king of Unstable SMP, just announced an army of 10,000 players to defend against Cindercrest, and at first, that sounds unstoppable. But the more I looked into this army, the less it made sense, because almost nobody is asking the obvious questions. How do you even control 10,000 people? Who's supplying them? And why does this feel less like defense, and more like propaganda? Because after watching Parrot's newest video closely, I think this entire plan may already be falling apart. The army makes no sense. The first major problem is the size of the army itself. Parrot claims he has 10,000 players ready to defend the kingdom from Cindercrest, but during the recruitment scenes, we only actually see around 1,000 players at most. Then suddenly near the end, the number jumps all the way to 10,000. So where did the other 9,000 players come from? Because honestly, the giant army we see could easily be bots, editing tricks or duplicated footage. And even if Parrot is telling the truth, an army of 10,000 sounds terrifying until you think about the logistics. Communication would be chaos. How are they supposed to communicate? Giving orders to 10,000 people during a massive Minecraft war would be nearly impossible. Even real-world militaries divide armies into smaller groups because controlling huge numbers at once is chaos. Now imagine trying to do that during an SMP battle. People screaming in voice chat, players panicking, groups getting separated, nobody knowing where to go, and the second communication breaks down, the entire army starts collapsing. Mark my words. If this war actually happens, there will be chaos. And then there's the gear issue. How exactly is Parrot supposed to supply loot to 10,000 players? Because Cindercrest isn't weak, they are insanely strong. These players are not surviving with basic diamond armor and random swords. To stand a chance, the army would need enchanted netherite, weapons, potions, food, and backup gear. Supplying all of that to thousands of players would take absurd resources. At some point, the kingdom would probably spend more time maintaining the army than preparing for war. I don't think Cindercrest's biggest advantage is strength, I think it's infiltration. At the beginning of Parrot's video, he gets ambushed and almost killed by bandits. But instead of eliminating them, he recruits them into the army. And that could become a massive mistake. Because what's stopping those same bandits from betraying him later? With an army this large, betrayal becomes almost impossible to prevent. And historically, giant alliances rarely collapse because of outside attacks. They collapse because of internal chaos. Fear is the real weapon. Because an army of 10,000 players sounds terrifying. Maybe the point of this army isn't actually to fight Cindercrest. Maybe the point is to make Cindercrest fear attacking at all. Parrot wants people to believe his kingdom is unbeatable, because on SMPs, perception can be just as powerful as reality. Predictions. So here's what I think happens next. Prediction 1, the army is massively exaggerated, and when Cindercrest attacks, the illusion completely collapses. Honestly, this feels the most likely, because 10,000 players is incredibly hard to believe. Prediction 2. Parrot is telling the truth. The army really exists, but it falls apart because of betrayals, communication failures, and the impossible task of maintaining a force that large. The bigger the army becomes, the harder it is to control. Prediction 3. Parrot somehow pulls this off. He successfully defends the kingdom and defeats Cindercrest. And if that happens, this could become one of the craziest moments in Unstable SMP history. Maybe Parrot really did build the strongest army Unstable SMP has ever seen. Or maybe he just created the biggest collapse the server has ever witnessed. Because if this war fails, it could completely change Unstable SMP forever. So now we wait. Will Parrot's army survive? Will Cindercrest destroy the kingdom? Or will the alliance collapse before the war even begins? Whatever happens next, the future of Unstable SMP is about to get insane.